The Kremlin is in panic, the Russian army is falling apart at the seams. The losses are enormous, the front is collapsing, the generals are silent, and Putin is shouting in frustration. The dictator is making a desperate move, a new mobilization. Fear grips all of Russia, families are weeping, while Moscow talks about patriotism. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are holding the line and turning the front into a real hell for the enemy. Putin is throwing everything he has left into the fight, but every new recruit of his is just another number in the grim casualty statistics. Russia is burning because of its own decisions. Could this wave of mobilizations be the last for the empire of lies? Don't miss the shocking details coming up in just a moment.
A large number of occupiers are being eliminated by the Ukrainian armed forces in Pokrovsk and in Rodinska, a key settlement that supports the entire Pokrovsk-Mirnohrad agglomeration from the east. Ukrainian tank crews have crushed the Russian invaders to rubble.
Similar reports from Pokrovsk, the hottest spot in Donbass, are heard almost every day. October has already become the bloodiest month for the Russian group throughout the entire war. However, it seems that November will break even this record. As a result of the colossal efforts of the Ukrainian defense forces, Russia has suffered record losses, and as a consequence, a new wave of mobilization. For now, it remains hidden. This term should be understood to mean several things. It includes recruiting conscripts for contracts as well as enlisting reservists to guard important facilities which the Russians have announced in many regions. This is a sign that the current flow of contract soldiers in Russia has decreased. The recruitment of foreigners also does not compensate for the losses in battle. According to Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, Pokrovsk has become the site of incredible Russian losses. According to reports from Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky, in their attempt to occupy this city, more than 30,000 occupiers have already lost their lives, and their number is growing every day.
The fact that Pokrovsk has become yet another graveyard for Russian occupiers is undeniable. And in general, no one is hiding that. Thank you. The concept, not the strategy, of Ukraine's defense forces is to maximize. The objective is to deplete as thoroughly as possible the enemy's offensive potential, to inflict the maximum possible damage so that they do not have the strength to continue and expand their offensive. This is to ensure that these infiltrations do not, under any circumstances, turn into breakthroughs of our defensive lines.
As always, the Kremlin decided to solve the issue through deception. Officially, they are not announcing mobilization, but in reality, they are rounding up literally everyone the security forces and the military can get their hands on.
What characterizes this draft? Hellish raids that ignore all deferments, all supporting documents, basically anything at all. And these hellish raids are happening not only in Moscow, but now also in the regions. There are already reports of raids in Kazan and Khabarovsk. This is alarming, this is bad, because it's one thing if it were just in Moscow and Makhachkala, but it's another matter entirely if it's happening in cities with millions of people. This means that now they will simply cover the entire territory as much as they can with police, who will be catching all men of conscription age wherever they find them.
At the same time, the rule that used to apply, that conscripts do not fight at the front, is now a thing of the past. Currently, the year-round draft provides the army with a constant influx of people. First and foremost for recruitment. By the way, everywhere.
They can apply significant pressure to this new recruit and thus compel him to sign a contract. And then he is no longer a conscript but a contract soldier. And as a contract soldier, as is well known, under Russian law, you can be sent directly to the front line.
Russian human rights activists say that the methods in Russia haven't changed, but the scale of such contract signings has increased once again. If before these were still local initiatives, now the order has come from above, to forcibly keep as many people in the army as possible.
This hidden mobilization continues. It hasn't just started. I repeat, it hasn't ended either. It's been going on since the fall of 2022. This is just its new phase.
Another method invented by the Russian military machine is to call up reservists to guard strategic facilities. Analysts explain that the scheme is designed for the gradual deployment to the front of everyone who has ever had any connection to the army. To start with, these reservists will replace the current convoys whose fate is already...
The word predetermined means that something has already been decided or set before anything actually happens. For example, if the outcome of a game is predetermined, it means the winner was chosen in advance, and nothing that happens during the game can change that result. This means there is no room for chance or uncertainty because everything has been arranged ahead of time.
After a few rotations, those same reservists will be sent to the front, and if there's time, they'll undergo a field military training. If Russian losses do not decrease, the briefing will take place right on the bus, on the way to the war. Putin needs an uninterrupted supply of cannon fodder.
The enemy has thrown literally everything they have at Pokrovsk. But they continue to suffer such losses there that even their numerical advantage in some areas doesn't help. Up to 20 times, it still doesn't allow them to take control of the city.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Europe can no longer wait. Poland, Lithuania, Germany and the Czech Republic are all together building a defensive barrier with the latest technologies, radars and drones. A sky shield is being formed over Ukraine, turning Russian Shahids into a pile of scrap metal even before they cross the border. Western partners are working around the clock. Weapon convoys move non-stop, warehouses are buzzing with equipment and factories are running 3 shifts. Moscow is nervous, the Kremlin is in a panic, but it's already too late. Europe has awakened and Ukraine is pointing the way that will bring Russia to its knees. What spectacular operations this alliance is planning to carry out? Find out in the following report.
After a series of Russian drone incursions into the airspace of European countries, it became clear that the old air defense systems can no longer cope. These cheap drones, flying in swarms, break through conventional defense schemes and deplete stocks of expensive missiles and combat aircraft. This very challenge became the impetus for the European Union's ambitious drone wall initiative. Practically,
all countries are involved without exception. Whether it's Eastern, Northern or Western Europe, every region has encountered manifestations of this new type of hybrid action by the Russian Federation in the sky, violations of airspace. And the need to respond is already a fact.
the idea is to create a unified defense system along the eastern border of the EU, where sensors, radars, satellites, interceptors and artificial intelligence will be able to detect, classify and neutralize threats in real time.
We need to create a European system that will allow Europe to develop advanced drone solutions, inspired by what is already being done in Ukraine.
It is Ukraine that plays a key role in this development. 4 years of war have made Ukrainian experience critically valuable. Here, tactics are tested, technologies are refined, and production chains for combat and counter-drone systems are formed. In combat conditions, not on a training ground.
Now, drones have changed absolutely everything. And the best drone experts in the world are Ukrainians. I saw a video of a situation where a swarm of drones retreats from a single soldier. Even a single drone can lure a soldier into a trap while another attacks him from the other side. So we are already seeing how drones are becoming increasingly deadly. This will change the way wars are fought in every country. And it's not just drones, but also how to protect your roads, how to protect your airports, how to prevent drones from invading your territory. That's why Europe must quickly learn from Ukrainians how to defend its skies.
Ukraine offers not only experience but also an industrial base. Local manufacturers such as TechX can supply equipment, train operators, share combat experience and standardize solutions to meet Europe's needs. The integration of Ukrainian technologies and expertise will make it possible to create adaptive, fast and cost-effective systems capable of operating in real combat time. Funding is already being processed through the SAFE instrument and the EU defense budget, which provides sufficient authorization. 100 billion euros for the eastern flank. The drone wall plan includes 3 directions: aerial, land and maritime lines of defense, which must be integrated into a single system. It is enough to control the airspace from the Baltic to the Black Sea.
According to the information and the news we read from different countries, self-determination is currently at the stage of finding or forming a consensus among the internal situations in each individual country, requiring possible changes in legislation and how this will later be addressed at the collective level. That is, in order to reach a common level, a unified position among the countries of the European Union and NATO, it is necessary to first achieve this within each country, understanding that in some places this will require changes in legislation, while elsewhere it will require more thorough explanations to society so that actions are clear, there is support and there is understanding, which is important for countries with democracy, where there is a constant electoral process and where any step can be used by the opposition.
This project is part of a larger strategy called SHIP 2030. These are 4 initiatives aimed at strengthening the EU's external corridors and protecting against drones, to create a joint air defense system and even provide space services for military needs. The main goal is to deter Russia and Belarus, especially considering that by 2030 the capabilities of the Russian armed forces may increase. The plan is to strengthen the eastern border by the end of 2026 and by 2027 to deploy a drone defense wall. At the same time, the EU is creating an integrated air defense system. Space-based intelligence, communication and navigation services will support defense tasks. However, experts warn that bureaucracy and slow processes in Europe could delay the project. But if Europe can quickly establish this cooperation, the SHIELD 2030 could become a new line of defense that will protect not only EU countries, but also Ukraine. Now,
Ukraine is saying farewell to its space guardian. The SIG 230 satellite has completed its mission and left orbit. Space does not tolerate emptiness. The Czech Republic is already preparing a mega gift. Wow, this new satellite will open up a whole new level of possibilities for Ukraine. This is not just equipment, these are eyes that will see beyond the horizon. The Russian Federation is closely watching the developments. The enemy has no trump cards in this game. What Europe is talking about right now and what will mark the revival of Ukrainian space, all this in our report in just a few seconds.
Satellite for Ukraine? On October 21, 2025, the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that it would donate an Earth observation satellite to Ukraine as a sign of support. This information appeared in October when the last Ukrainian
January 2nd, 30.
SIG 230 fell and probably burned up in the atmosphere on October 8th off the coast of Alaska, USA. This was reported by the National Center for Space Control and Testing. Now he needed it.
And finished satellites. But let's not forget about essential Starlink equipment and access to data from the satellites of Ukraine's partners, primarily, of course, the United States.
Which specific satellite the Czech Republic will give to Ukraine is still unknown. The previous one was launched into its designated orbit by a Falcon 9 rocket from SpaceX on January 13, 2022. After that, it was contacted and it was confirmed that the onboard equipment was functioning properly. At the time, the President's office stated that the digital images transmitted by the satellite to Earth could be used in agriculture and forestry, cartography for water resource management, monitoring emergencies and natural disasters, as well as in the field of security and defense for detecting illegal activities.
There are several important roles and tasks that are carried out during wartime. First and foremost, of course, is intelligence gathering. Communication on the battlefield is also extremely important. And in fact, the appearance of Starlink systems in Ukraine for the first time gave a significant advantage at the beginning of the full-scale invasion.
Despite the fact that the Russians have let their satellite industry decline in their own country, it used to be at a high level, and now this is helping the Kremlin wage war against our
in this country. As we know, it is important to note country.
We can say that the Ukrainian satellite industry is currently in its infancy. With the support of our allies, it has every chance to become promising and competitive in the world.
That's all from me for now. This was me, Darina Hutsakalo. Even more scorching news in our next broadcast. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you.